Okay. All right. Here we are. I tell you, it's so great to be here. It was a little bit difficult getting here. And in fact, I wouldn't have been able to get here if I didn't get some assistance. You know, we were right there in the town square on the way to the studio. And wouldn't you know it, an alien attack. And I tell you, this time it would have been all over. It would have been all over. There would have been no hope at all. But I didn't know it at the time, but there were a couple of aliens visiting. They were just finishing their, you know, what was it, 3-week stay here or something. I didn't know they're in disguise. They look just like Earthlings. And they sort of were like policemen undercover or something. They saved me. And this just happened a couple minutes ago, so I invited them on the show. And so they're here. They're just getting ready to go back to their home planet. They just saved the show for tonight. And so I haven't had a chance to talk to them. I think they had a good visit here. I think they're enjoying themselves. But let me introduce you now to our alien visitors. Here we go. So let me introduce you. The female one's name is, I don't know how to pronounce it in your native language. It's something like Ariel, something like that.
That's very good.
Yeah. And sitting next to Ariel is Jeff. So we'll just say Ariel and Jeff. Yeah, because I mean the language, your language is so beautiful. I mean, I have heard it.
Oh, thank you.
It's so nice. It's kind of sing-songy.
That was really good.
Oh, I get around a bit. So anyway, thanks for saving me. I mean,
Well, thank you so much for having us on this show. It's such an honor.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
The show is so fabulous, like all over the galaxy.
This is fabulous. So you guys were here visiting for vacation, had a vacation. I got to say, awesome disguises.
Thanks.
I mean, what do you think, viewers? I mean, these people look like they could, you know. In fact, let's face it. They look like typical Earthlings pretending to be aliens. That's what the people are going to say. Isn't that funny? They're going to look at you and say, they're not from another planet. They're just from Earth. But anyway, you had a nice visit here, didn't you? Or did you? I'm asking.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah. Did you have a good time?
So,
Yeah.
So you know, what were some of the things, like, what'd you like it about here visiting Earth? The disguises are cool.
Definitely, yeah. That was really great. And
I thought it was a little bit dull until that alien attack, which it sort of made me long for home, you know. But it was a pretty good time.
I tell you, you know, I can read expressions in aliens' faces, and those aliens were shocked. They thought they had me. I mean, the last thing they expected were a couple of hero warriors, you know, to show up in disguise and save the day. Thank you again.
Well, we figured if there was one prominent Earth personality we would want to save, it would be you, so...
You know, if there's one prominent Earth personality that, you know, I want to be saved, it's me. Yeah, thank you.
so we're in agreement there.
Yeah. So I mean, tell me about Earth. Like, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think personally it was a really big learning experience, and I think overall it's a great place. I think it's really underrated in this universe.
And that's hard to do. I mean, there are a lot of people who, of course, appreciate Earth.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always getting attacked for putting you know, like too nice a face on the whole thing. Like, it's not as nice as you say, John. But Earth is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Physically beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we're rendering it so ugly. But the planet itself is beautiful. And how about the way the people treat each other? How'd you find that?
Well, I have mixed sentiments about that.
Like, how's that?
Well, it depends. Some people can treat each other very well, but there's a lot of hostility and animosity on this planet. I've noticed that much.
Whoa, that's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of scared me.
Such a beautiful planet. You think, why are the people hostile? You know, why the animosity? But
I have no idea. I was hoping you could elucidate that for me.
well, yeah, I wonder about that myself. And you know, we got the crew here tonight. You know, the full wonderful crew, like Magical Mike, you know, doing the magic. And we got John and Danny on the cameras. And Danny and I were just talking before the show, and he was asking, why is it that Earthlings, and sometimes, I don't know if you said female Earthlings or not, I can't remember, but why is it that Earthlings, sometimes they see you one day and they're real nice, then they see you the next day and it's like you don't exist? Like, how does that come about? And that's an Earth characteristic. That's a human characteristic. So where does that come from?
Well, I've been here on Earth. I've been studying a little bit about the human mind, and I find that it's just a severely twisted psychological problem that I can't even get into.
It's tough being a human.
Do you have any insight, honey?
Well, dear, I don't know. I pretty much agree with you.
Yeah, humans can be really twisted, can't they? They can be mean while they're saying they're nice. They think they're being nice, but actually they're being mean. And you know, it's just you know, they can do some horrible things to each other. Did you drive any of the combustion vehicles on the planet?
Yeah, we rented one.
Yeah, and you drove around. Did you have anybody scream at you and shake their fist?
That was
Yeah.
basically, yeah, a part of the experience.
And sometimes when people get mad, they hold their hand up to you and they lift a finger. I'm not sure which finger it is, but they hold one finger up.
Yeah.
And that's an earth sign.
Yeah, I
You know,
noticed that. I'm
it's
not
a
exactly,
hostile earth sign.
Is that what that is?
I thought it was a type of greeting. I waved back.
You were greeted that way? No. You were looking at the hand rather than the face. Yeah, it's not such a greeting. Anyway, let's move on to some of these letters. You know, we got a bunch of letters here, and see what's up. I'll tell you, somebody attacked my pile of letters here, but it didn't work. All right, here we go. Let's see. Maybe you guys can help out. Dear John, I am a big fan of your show. Did you write this letter? No. Maybe I wrote it. Guy likes the show. Anyway, dear John, I'm a big fan of your show. In fact, I often find myself in arguments defending you from idiots and fools who might want to say something negative about you. I almost always win my arguments, too. Sometimes I convince others I'm right, but mostly I'm more willing to argue than they are, and they give up before I do. Well, this past week I got stumped, and I'm really upset. Mostly I'm upset that I let you down, John. Let me tell you about it. Maybe you can help me. Remember the Earth Appreciation Day during Intergalactic Diversity Week on my planet last month? You gave that great demonstration of Earth poetry, music, drama, painting, and dance. Wow, it was awesome. Earth art is the best. Well, last night this idiot says that Earth itself is not at all friendly to artists, and that with the exception of a few so-called star money-making artists, most Earthlings, and this means the larger majority, are not artists. In fact, he said, Earthlings think artists are special sorts of people, not that every person is a special sort of artist. I'm going to see him tomorrow. I'd like to win the argument. Please tell me what to say to expose the error of his view. Yeah, I hate this. Here's a guy who's a fan of the show. He loves the show, and he's wrong. The person he's arguing with seems to be right. What do you think? What was your experience here on the planet?
I think everyone on Earth would pretty much concur with the guy he was arguing with. But I personally think everyone has the capability to be an artist, but it seems that no one on this planet takes advantage of that.
That's a shame, isn't it?
I think so.
So people who aren't artistic haven't discovered their way of expression. It's not that they're not artistic, they're just not functioning artistically.
It was my experience here on the planet that everyone's usually making an attempt to express themselves, be it through conversation or these hand signals or whatever. And it just seems that everyone has the ability to create. You know, we all the humans and everyone in this universe has this ability to create, at least on a reproductive level. But I think
Did you explore any of the Earth reproductive mechanisms? That's why people come here. That's one of the reasons people come here. You know, there's a metaphysical view. That's why people are born, you know, to experience the Earth body.
Yeah. Actually, no, I experienced our disguises, but I didn't have.
Maybe your next trip.
Yeah, maybe my next trip.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So you're saying that Earthlings have the capacity to express artistically, and in fact do, but they don't realize this themselves, men often. And you know, it's interesting, isn't this true in outer space? when you meet people, say at the equivalent of a cocktail party kind of thing or some social event, you often ask people, it's just a natural, normal thing, what your mode of expression is. And the assumption is everybody has some mode of expression. So one person will paint, especially, or write poetry. So, what's your mode of expression? And so nobody would say, "Oh, I'm not an artist." You know, it's just, "Oh, well, I'm very much into this, or I explore this." And if you have an interest, "Oh, let me see it." Can I see your painting, or can I hear your music? But not so on Earth, is it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
The norm on Earth is that there are those big stars, and normal conversation I found seems to be in the area of very shallow things such as
I noticed that.
money and power and such, which I don't think are very healthy ways to express oneself, as my experience here.
Yeah, I think basically people here don't feel the need to express, which means they aren't taking anything in, because if they were, they would feel the need to put something out.
That is a nice point. That is a really nice point. Yeah, so when you're not, so let me catch this. It's so great getting the intergalactic perspective, but when you're not expressing routinely what's happening inside of you, you stop being sensitive to it. And so it's as if you don't have anything to express. And so that's why it's so important to have a mode of artistic expression. And I don't know if you notice this, there's this really perverse thing on Earth. And you could call it, like, let's even think of, I don't know how familiar you are with the Earth thing, but Earth human sexual expression, if you do it for money, you're called a prostitute. And it's not thought to be as legitimate as doing it for real or for true. So if somebody says, I will pay you to perform a sex act, that's prostitution. But we routinely prostitute art. So we think it's very normal to do art for money. And as a matter of fact, we think that's the reason to do art. And there's a particularly destructive television advertisement on now. I don't know if you had a chance to watch this, but it has a couple little kids. I would say, they're actors on TV, but I'd say 8 or 9 years old, and they're rapping. And they're already thinking, it's an advertisement for a communications company that not only has the phone line, but different kinds of high-tech links. So they're already thinking of bringing their rapping, they're 8 years old, globally to make money. That's prostitution. That's like being 8 years old and somebody's saying, you look so nice in that dress. And so maybe I can get someone to pay me to fondle me. That would be highly inappropriate. It's vulgar, that's gross, that's unacceptable. But here are these talented children already thinking of prostituting their art, as if that's what makes it good, the fact that they sell it. What do you think?
Go ahead.
Please.
I definitely agree with you. I think the only reason to create art is for yourself and for those around you, but not for any material gain.
Yeah. And if it's not that it's wrong to get paid for it, but to do it for the pay. Phew. Okay, let's roll on.
Well,
Greg,
I
you
think
have a thought.
one more point about that is that from my perspective, I am not even able to see the line that humans have drawn between a sexually creative act and an artistically creative act. I feel sort of blind to that.
So let me understand what you're saying. You're saying from your intergalactic point of view, you don't see a difference.
No, I feel that there's as much beauty in either one.
In either one.
And it is, I definitely agree with you that it is
what would be inappropriate in the one would be inappropriate in the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that when you were here, I want to ask you about this. You had a chance to study some Earth yoga.
Yes.
And some Hinduism. And I know in traditional Hindu music, sacred music, the performer of the music not only wouldn't prostitute it, but wouldn't even do it unless it was appropriate. Just the way you're saying. Let's say you're married, And even when you're married, it's not always appropriate to have a sexual experience. For example, in the town square. Even though you're married and you love each other, it's inappropriate in the town square. And this is the approach they take to music, that there sometimes it's inappropriate to play sacred music in the same way that it's inappropriate to disrobe. Not that there's anything wrong with disrobing, but not now. Maybe now. Not in this example. Okay, so we roll on. I got this. Tell you what, give us a call. You can ask our visitors from outer space anything that's on your mind. Dear John, I am from Rigid World. You may have heard of us. We do everything by the book of codes, rules, and step-by-step procedures. Have you ever been to Rigid World?
I can't say that I have.
I have.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one word I would use to describe Rigid World. Rigid.
I had a feeling that was coming.
Yeah, it's rigid. Yeah. And anyway, since I've been watching your show, I've become aware of how overly rigid, structured, and tight my own planetary culture is. That's pretty awesome. A person gets a distance from their own culture.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I hope my fellow Earthlings experience they have having a chance to talk to you and hearing your perspective. It'll give them a little distance from themselves, and they can look at it differently. So anyway, here's a guy. Let's see what he says. I've been trying to. He's got this thing like Earth quotes in here. So, I've been trying to loosen up, to go with the flow, to play it by ear, as you say. Could you please give me a step-by-step procedure for doing this?
A step-by-step procedure.
Yeah, it's almost as if, could you please give me an overly rigid, structured, and tight procedure for loosening up and going with the flow? And Guy, like, thanks for asking, for help here, and I really support you in your endeavor to loosen up. But when you're in so let's say a framework, a mentality, a worldview of tightness, you got to get out of that worldview. So the worldview itself can't solve itself, or can't move itself, or transform itself. So to be rigid means, if you want to stop being rigid, you can't stop being rigid rigidly. And someone said, there's an earth thought on this. Someone said, everything in moderation, including everything in moderation. That's the ultimate earth thing, So you say, okay, everything in moderation, maybe not tonight. Oh, this is coming from the meat-eating vegetarian. So, okay, let me play something here, and we roll on. You can call up, ask our visitors questions, ask them what they think of Earth or what it's like in outer space, and I want to hear some of your discoveries about yoga, actually. So, let me see. Let me try to play something kind of mellow here. See what we come up with. That was mellow. Okay, let me upgrade it. What do you think?
That was all right. Do you mind if I make a comment about the last letter that was written?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion for the man, or some comments for the man. From
This is
Ridgewood.
this is the guy who wants to loosen up, and he wants some step-by-step procedure to do so.
This is a correlation that I found between his situation and the human situation on Earth.
Ooh, let's hear it.
Basically, with the globalization, and this is a very large, corporately run global community, looking for ways to get free and to be liberated through something as oppressive as like capitalism, I feel personally. It can't be done that way. And my experience with yoga is that it's an alternative way for, I guess, liberation from things like that, from a certain way of life that may not be as satisfying. And I guess, I believe I was reading Einstein said something about you can't solve problems on the same level as the problems are occurring.
Yeah,
And-
within the frame of reference within which the
Exactly.
problem occurs.
Yeah.
You can't solve it within that frame of reference.
And yeah, exactly. And my experience with yoga was it was on such a different level than normal reality is for most earthlings, that I find that it may have some benefit to the people here on this planet.
We need to explore this. You know, it's really, it's in a way, it's somewhat shocking that it takes an alien to discover yoga. And though there are some earthlings now beginning to discover yoga and appreciate it, the beauty of yoga and the power of what yoga can do is largely unknown on Earth.
It's very
That's
true.
somewhat shocking, isn't it? So what you're saying is that yoga is a way of liberating from sort of global corporate mental colonization and control.
Very true.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating. We have to explore this. Yeah, we have to look into this. And so to the person, so what you're saying to the person who says he wants to loosen up and go with the flow of things, you recommend yoga.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend yoga. And I would at least recommend exploring letting go and loosening up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most definitely. I find that, well, it's very interesting that most people on Earth put the intention out that they want freedom and they want their individuality. Yet, time and time again, they're really just submitting to this globalization, like very, very passively. And I think that somehow yoga could definitely help free up the mind a bit to see what's going on. You know, I don't know. That was my personal experience with it. That I felt a definite mental clarity. I experienced it a lot more objectively after my experience with yoga. It's
That
very
is
interesting.
just spectacular. You know, a lot of people mistakenly think that yoga is a system of bizarre beliefs.
Yeah.
But the way you describe it is the practice of yoga helps us cultivate clarity.
Exactly.
What were the other terms you used? Mental clarity?
Yeah. Mental clarity and an objective perspective.
An objective perspective. So it's a technique. That's a wonderful point. It's not a belief.
No.
It's a technique of clarity, of clearing things. You know, you mentioned something really powerful. I was over at the Ragged Edge coffee shop earlier, and in case you don't know this, Sean, the poet, lives and works there, and he writes these really moving poems that explores aspects of how our minds are controlled and colonized. So it's a really short little poem. His latest one, I copied it off the blackboard hanging up. And so this is Sean, this is his poem. I see myself in pre-recorded episodes, wearing commercials as well as any mannequin, editing us to appease our critics. That's nice. So this is the protest of someone who's aware that his mind is being controlled. So he's saying, I see myself in pre-recorded episodes, generic, pre-figured out episodes. And so much of our life, I've been thinking about this, is what if a robot took over your life? Would anybody notice? Like a highly sophisticated robot that learned your thing. So you say to me, how you doing? I say, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Let's say that's my personality thing. Oh, I'm doing pretty good. So you get a robot to say, I'm doing pretty good, whenever the input, how you doing, comes in. Okay, nobody would notice that. Let's say that it's bionically engineered to look like me, and it acts like me. Okay, it's what a robot can't do is be me. A robot can act like me, and the more mechanical I am, the more convincingly the robot can do it. But if I do yoga, the robot's out of luck.
Yeah, most definitely.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Robot's out of luck. Can't be imitated anymore.
No, not at all.
Because I'll be focused, I'll have awareness, and I'll be clear. Is that right?
Very true.
That is such a great point. So let's continue with this point. Let's continue with exploring this yoga.
Well, that poem really set off something, a very yogic concept of him seeing himself, and awareness of oneself is key, most definitely. And that brings forth a lot of change, and I think one reason why the robot wouldn't be able to imitate you so well is that when you're aware of yourself, you're aware of just how capable you are of changing and growing, and loosening up some of that mental colonization and becoming more yourself and more aware of yourself. So definitely a robot would not be able to keep up with the pace at which a yogi changes and grows.
That's such a nice thought. That's such a nice point. It's so hopeful that as we liberate and self-liberate and become free, a machine can't keep up. We keep transforming. And that's a wonderful point. That is a really wonderful point. So let me read this next letter, and let's keep this yoga thing going. So this is actually a religious letter, and I love religious questions. But I'm just looking at the headline here. This is actually from the Seminary of Diverse Religious Expression, which is, this section of the universe's most notable theological seminary. Anyway, this is from one of the professors at the seminary. Let's see what he has to say. It's kind of an honor to be getting a letter from them. Okay. Dear John, I am a theologian attached to the Intergalactic Seminary of Diverse Religious Expression. My own specialty is the religious expression of primitive planets. Needless to say, I'm hugely interested in Earth religions for the very reason of their primitive and therefore primal nature. Most of my colleagues in the Primitive Planets department of the seminary think Earth religion is simply a tool of control used by Earth ruling classes to keep the Earth masses in bondage to them. And therefore, Earth religion is almost completely inauthentic. I am a maverick. I disagree. I think much of Earth religion, and this is heresy in the seminary, is actually a truly authentic expression of honest religious impulses. Did you find that? Earth,
Most definitely.
Yeah, the Earth religion, there is that social control aspect, but Earth religion itself is not social control. It's genuinely authentic urge to merge with the divine, the all, the one. Okay. But one thing that troubles me, my opponents are always bringing this up when they disagree with me, is that Earth religion is almost completely lacking a sense of humor. I mean, there are very few dirty jokes in any of the sacred scriptures. Very little laughing goes on in formal worship services, and very little appreciation of humor in the context of the divine occurs. This is such an unusual limitation. Can you help me with this? Whew, that's a good question. I think I have to agree with him. I think there's very little humor in earth religion. You had an experience while you were here. I think I heard about you. You visited a church, didn't you?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Would you like me to share that?
Yeah, if you would.
I was staying at the Abbey of Gethsemane, which is in Kentucky. It's actually a Catholic monastery. And I was actually contemplating this same question about the role of humor in religion. And I feel that laughter is such a great medicine.
It's a divine experience.
Oh, absolutely.
You cannot laugh and feel hatred at the same time.
Absolutely.
When you're laughing, you're enlightened. You're
I've-
clean. You're pure. Laughing is the most perfect place.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I've actually met someone that our writer might be interested to hear about, was a priest at this particular monastery. He was a very interesting, unique personality.
He was there.
Yeah, he
You
was
had a
there.
chance to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
You remember his name or
Father John.
Father John?
That's
Yeah.
I don't remember his last name.
yeah.
Sorry.
Father John is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that was really his name. Okay. So he was actually, yes, very unique. He was a poet as well as, I think, a very deep philosopher.
Yeah.
And I had the chance to attend some of his sermons. And,
Oh, wonderful.
full of insights and questioning, speculation into faith and religion, as well as a very light heart and a great sense of humor. And he explored deeply. He wasn't at all dogmatic. And I think that he stood out from most of what I know of the Catholic religion. And he did cultivate a sense of humor, a very cosmic sense of humor that really shined through in his divinity.
So thanks for sharing that, and it's inspiring to learn about that. There is an earth problem. Many young earthlings grow up, and as they become rational and start asking questions, they'll raise a question like, how do we really know there's a God? Or how do we know that what we say in our church is the truth or speaks well, it actually comes from God? And or whatever the question might be, or the pastor seems so mean when he speaks. How could he be speaking the truth? This kind of thing. And when questions like that are raised, often the young earthling is, if not beaten, psychologically traumatized. That's bad. You're going to make God mad. This kind of thing. That asking honest questions of doubt are thought to be bad. So you got to buy it. You got to believe it. You got to believe it. If you don't believe it, you're bad. That kind of thing. That's hostile to the free mind exploring. And that's thought to be, people feel guilty about doing that.
I can hardly explain that except to say that then maybe these oppressors should be questioning their own divinity.
That is such a good point. That maybe someone who condemns a child for asking a question is insecure about the answer.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's all fear.
That's a very good point. Whereas Father John, if the child or the adult comes up to Father John and says, I'm not convinced that there is a God, he doesn't freak out.
No.
He would say, that's a very important question, the existence of God. Why do you think there isn't a God? Something like that. Whatever he would do, he would not be horrified or shocked. Probably he himself had the same doubt at an earlier age, maybe even sometimes has it now, as a thinking, just thinking. His faith is grounded in something deeper than his reasoning, his logical arguing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he showed that actually in another experience I had with him, where it truly showed that his faith in a divinity and an actual God, something beyond church, he gave communion to some people who are not Catholic, and which is really very.
That's a Catholic no-no.
That's a very big.
You got to be in the
Catholic no-no.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just showed that it was like I'm sure if a devout, dogmatic Catholic was there, it would have been a slap in the face, but hopefully one that would wake you up and say, duh, like it's people. It's not just Catholics. It's not all the code and the structure of the church, you know. And I think his faith really shone through in that experience.
I'm very moved by that story. I'm in awe and appreciation of him speaking as an earthling. And, you know, if you think of what communion is for a second, if you think, you know, if without being mocking or cynical, if you think that communion, the communion wafer, is actually the substance of divine flesh, so that when you take communion, you're taking into your body divine substance. Now, let's say, oh, I don't believe that, I don't believe that. Let's believe that for a second. Let's accept that. If there is divine substance that you can share with other people, and you refuse to do it because they don't belong to a club, that's shocking.
Yeah.
If it's
Absolutely.
divine substance, it wants to go to everyone.
Absolutely.
And if somebody says, well, I don't even believe this, you say, you know, let's say somebody's starving and you have food, and they say, I don't even believe that that food is the best food on the planet. Or I don't even believe it's food. And you say, don't worry about it. Take a bite. You know, it'll save your life. It'll restore you. So the fact that he was able to respond to the primacy of what the religion is about, rather than the bureaucratic technical details, fills me with awe and appreciation. That's
Myself as well.
yeah, that's incredible. And therefore, anything he might to say, I'm more inclined to listen to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you haven't thought.
I was just going to agree with this sense of
Yeah.
awe and appreciation that's going around tonight.
There's this what?
The sense of awe and
Oh,
appreciation.
yeah. Great. Yeah, I appreciate that. So you could almost say that he's a yogi.
Most definitely.
Yeah, he's a bridge to the divine.
Most
It's
definitely.
through, you know, so that's you know, I remember that in Sanskrit, I think the word yoga comes from a root that's similar to what the word religion comes from. But yoga is more pure. Religion has gotten corrupted, by which I mean, let me clarify this very complex point I'm making when I say religion has gotten corrupted. Our understanding of religion today in this country mostly means believing things, doctrine. The word religion comes from the Latin religare, that means to bind or join. So what religion is a technique, a human-created method to find the divine, to join with the divine. And that's what yoga means. The word yoga means yoke,
Yeah.
join, bond. So it really, yoga is a religion, but the difference is, what we think of as religion means creed and belief. Yoga is not belief. It's practice.
Exactly.
It's technique. It's mental development. You said earlier, focus, clarity, objective view, kind of thing. So the practices of yoga aren't doctrines that you believe. They're things that you do.
Yes, it's a path, really.
It's a path that develops your mind. That's awesome. Wow. That's incredible.
It really is.
You know. And, you know, it took an alien to discover this. I can't believe it. You know.
You say it like it's a bad thing.
What's that?
You say
well,
alien like it's bad.
no, like let me clarify my meaning. I much appreciate you guys. I mean, you came to Earth and you had a good experience. If there's something negative in what I'm saying, it's towards my planet mates. And I'm saying to my fellow Earthlings, it's like, you know, it's like, let's say you live in a town with a lake in it, and nobody ever swims in the lake. Let's say it's a very perfectly clean lake. And some visitor to your town says, oh, why don't you swim? It looks great, and you jump in and swim. And everybody in the town says, you know, we've been living here all along, we never thought to swim in the lake. It took an outsider to jump in the lake. That's the kind of thing. Like, we've been living on this planet Earth, and there's all this yoga. I never even knew it. It took an alien to notice how awesome it is. So, like, why did it take so long for Earthlings to notice? In fact, there are probably even Earthlings watching tonight who are saying about you guys, oh, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're not even from this planet.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Okay. So, rolling on with another letter, what do you think?
That works.
That works?
It's funny
Okay.
that you mentioned the lake, though, because we had a similar experience today. We swam in a pond nearby.
You swim in a pond? Really?
And we were outsiders.
Yeah.
As an earth pond?
Yeah, it was pretty much abandoned by all the locals.
That's amazing. The aliens thought about swimming in it. Were you in earth disguise? Or did
Yeah,
you,
of course.
yeah. Weren't you
too
tempted to
risky
let your
otherwise.
flippers out? In the water and all? I tell you, it's against the intergalactic code, to be out of disguise when you're visiting, and I commend you. You were in water and you maintained disguise. But then again, the earth disguise is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I think
We had some fun with it.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, this is a letter that touches on yoga, actually. It's not about yoga, but this is from another school, intergalactic school. Dear John, I'm a student at the Institute for the Study of Primitive Planets. My major is Earth, and I'm specializing in American, the leading language on Earth right now. Well, an interesting philosophical issue came up in my Earth language class recently, and I wanted to ask your opinion of it. My professor has said all along that it's impossible to understand Earth unless you can grasp that Earthlings have a propensity to be seduced by language. That is, Earthlings, being primitives, and then he has like a little definition here of primitive. Primitive is prone to literalism. So if you're let's say a fundamentalist, that's the most primitive understanding of what you're talking about. It's the literal understanding, the most primitive. Okay, so Earthlings, being primitives, tend to treat words as things. A typical example my professor uses over and over again is that, he says, if you go up to a typical Earthling and point to him and say, "Idiot!" the Earthling will almost certainly get mad. I'm laughing because I'm an Earthling and I know this is right. And I've been off planet enough to know how funny this is to off-worlders. That if you walk up to someone and go oink, they say, "What's the matter?" Or if you walk up to someone and you go woof, 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 they say, "What's the matter?" But if you walk up to someone and say, "You're a stupid idiot," they say, "Oh yeah? Well, I'm going to punch you." But "you're a stupid idiot" is just another kind of barking. "You're a stupid idiot. Woof, woof, woof." So anyway, this is an Earth thing. They take the words literally, personally. Okay. Well, as an example of how Earthlings can be seduced by words, he used this example of meaningless double talk. Okay, and this is the example. Okay, I'm going to quote it. So I'll read it twice. This is kind of a hard thought to follow, but try to follow this. Now, this is in the Institute for Primitive Planets, all the Earth majors studying American, learning American English. This is a class, this is an example of nonsense. So he says, most people are not aware of how totally and consistently unaware they are, because by the very nature of unawareness, they're not aware of being unaware. Okay, let me read that again. Try to follow this. Most people are not aware of how totally and consistently unaware they are, because by the very nature of unawareness, they're not aware of being unaware. Okay, so the writer says, I thought the sentence made sense, and when I said so, everyone in the class laughed. The professor then said to me, "Oh no, number 17. That's how our ACTV translator translated his language. His name is number 17. He said, the professor said, "Oh no, number 17, you're in this class to learn about Earthlings, not to become one." What do you think, John? Okay, I want to say, I think that's a profound statement.
Yeah,
That's not double talk.
I would definitely have to agree with the writer that it does make some sense, most definitely.
Most of us, and I even speak for myself, I spend an awful lot of time in unawareness, and usually not on the show. But when I'm unaware, the problem, the occupational hazard of being unaware is you tend not to be aware that you're unaware by the very nature of unawareness, which is you're not observing. And this is where yoga comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah. In what way?
Well, basically, you must cultivate an attitude of awareness throughout a practice of yoga, and sometimes it takes someone to tell you, get aware, become aware of yourself. But I found that many earthlings walk around in complete unawareness, and it seems confusing. But through yoga, it turns you on more and more to being aware at almost all times. It turns you on a little more, and it wakes you up a little more. And to be in a situation where you are unaware of your own unawareness is very perplexing.
Is to be aware.
Yeah.
Like, this is so nice what you're saying. So let me say something, and you comment on it. You're saying that the practice of yoga helps us to cultivate awareness, so that if you practice yoga, it's not that you don't get angry. It's that you're aware of your anger when it comes up. And most people aren't aware of their anger when they're angry.
Exactly.
So you can get somebody who's angry and say, you're angry. I'm not angry. It just pisses me off that they deny that they're angry at the very, with an angry voice. Whereas the yoga practice doesn't mean that the person no longer feels anger, but they are no longer unaware of the anger they feel, and therefore can deal with it intelligently. Instead of saying, I'm not angry, I'm just pissed off, they can say, yes, I feel quite angry. And then you can look at why and what it is. It may be completely irrational. There may be something in the environment that you want to address, but you have that, how did you say earlier, objective vision.
Yeah, an objective vision. Exactly.
Glory be. This has been great. We're out of time already. And can you believe that?
Yeah, that went by quite fast.
This is fast. So I'm going to, I know you've got a long trip home and you got to leave, but I just really hope that you come back to this planet. And if you come back to this planet, I want you to come on the show.
We'll definitely do that.
We would love
Is
to.
that right? Good.
Absolutely.
And also, you got interested in earth music.
Actually. Yes.
And you learned to play earth guitar.
Yeah.
So next time you come back, you're playing guitar.
That sounds great. I can't wait.
This is an alien who's won my heart. This is great. 2 aliens who've won my heart. Yeah. And I tell you, I love you guys.
Right back at you.
Okay, here we go. Give me a key.
Hey.
A. Give me a major, minor.
Oh, major.
Major. Okay. Give me a kind of okay, give me a number from 1 to 8.
8.
8? Okay. Give me a number from 1 to 7.
1.
1. Okay. So let me play something in A major that starts on the first step of the scale.